Alright guys, it's time to step on some toes, with me talking about how Boruto's Kawaki arc does a better job of passing the torch than Dragon Ball Cell games. And please note, I like both of these arcs, and Dragon Ball is in my top 3 anime of all time, but let me make my points and explain why. So let's get to my first argument. And let me start by saying that structurally these arcs are very similar. Goku steps up to battle Cell, which then ends with him not being able to cut the toast, and Gohan steps in. Gohan steps in, and after being too weak and too timid to step up and be the main character, he has his massive breaking point to where he becomes Super Saiyan 2. An iconic moment that many, and I do mean many, consider the absolute peak of the franchise, and I fully respect and understand why. It has incredible music, awesome pacing, and it's just impeccable growth for Gohan, but we could also get into the whole Gohan having a forced narrative and that he doesn't want to fight, but that's a whole nother issue for another day, which then leads into one of the best and most cathartic beatdowns of Gohan's delivery of pure malice and destruction on Cell, and what can I say? It's awesome, and everyone loves it. But there's a reason for that. But then Gohan's own hubris gets the better of him, and Goku has to sacrifice himself, forcing Gohan to learn that you can't just have raw power, you've got to have the instincts and know when to cut the bar here. But then we move into one of, if not the greatest climax in all of anime with the father-son Kamehameha wave. Something that many, and I do mean many, consider the peak of the franchise. But what happens with Gohan after the Cell arc? He goes to school where he stops training for 7 years, which the arc spends active time in the Buu Saga setting him up as the main character, to then proceed and show what happens when Gohan doesn't train, and yes, it shows that he's out of touch, he's not where he is, and there's actual setup here for a character arc. And we also have the Deborah fight on top of that, which is just fully and intentionally set up to show Gohan is out of shape and out of touch with his training. Then Majin Buu gets released, Gohan takes an L, and then gives a fully and frankly just undeserved power-up with the Grand Kai ritual, which allows him to step in as the main character yet again until he just fumbles. He shows up, fights Super Buu, and makes the exact same mistake he did against Cell, which not only hurts him because it shows he hasn't grown, but it also hurts Gohan in the sense of letting Buu get stronger. His hubris and anger actively allows Buu to get so strong that he just can't fight him. And it would be one thing if he fought Buu and was still strong enough to even keep up, but he's so outclassed in almost every regard, which then forces him into a position where Buu then absorbs him and sets up for Goku to have to step in as the main character again. Skipping the Vegito semantics, then Goku shows up, claims his flag as the main character again, and fully proceeds to then defeat the main antagonist of the entire arc. And again, this is a one arc stretch. I understand, well, I guess one saga if you want to get super technical about it, but this is all within a saga of each other. Cell and Buu are right after each other, and this literally devalues everything Gohan was supposed to do as the main character. Now, we could just end it here with the Toriyama run of Dragon Ball, but it gets worse. Because then Gohan in Super is the most wishy-washy and horribly written character, debatably in the entire series of Super. He's so wishy-washy and they can't commit to if they want or don't want him to be a fighter, and when they finally commit to that, in the entirety of the Tournament of Power, at 90 episodes into this series, I guess a little bit earlier if you want to count the, what was that, the exposition matches? Yeah, sure, okay, maybe. But then they proceed to have him train for one day, he's Super Saiyan Blue level, and now, his father, still reigning as the main character of the Tournament of Power, and literally acting as the full focal force of this arc, doesn't just manage one show, which he's still the core of, but still manages Daima, which Gohan isn't even in. And again, it's just pedantic. We're repeating the same problem over and over again. But it would be one thing to have a series that's set before Gohan's major shift, not make him relevant, but then to make him relevant and do this to him. to bring back his most iconic and character-defining moment, repackage it as a less interesting and way less satisfying movie, and then paint a white coat on top with red eyes is ridiculous. And now that he has a new form that most people just, let's frankly be honest, call it Super Saiyan 2 with hair dye, because that's what it is. There's no character growth and there's nothing defining about what this is. And now Gohan is apparently equal to every other character in the series, which is ridiculous. I understand, yes, he's been training and he's been better about it, but you're telling me now after 2 or 3 arcs, Gohan just gets to come back into the fray and be just as relevant as the others were? I don't buy and frankly don't agree with that. But let's move on to Boruto. Skipping some major semantics, basically Kawaki gets brought into the village and this guy right here, Jigen, shows up and then washes Naruto and Sasuke in their strongest form, after which they straight up lose and are fully outmatched by someone in their adult forms, which has not happened until this point up into the series. And this includes the battle against Ishiki, which, by the way, they were winning. But it would be one thing just to have them lose. Then Jigen transforms into his final form, Ishiki, where he only has 3 days left to live and invades the village in search of Kawaki. Naruto, going all out, is forced to attack this man, but then we allow something very, very important to occur. Boruto uses a portal and literally catches him in the fray. This puts Naruto and Sasuke in another dimension where they battle with their absolute hardest and just lose. There was nothing they could do until one little nine-tailed Kurama shows up. Now, Kurama shows up and then introduces Baryon mode, Naruto's strongest and most powerful transformation to date in the entire franchise. It's remarkable to look at, it's incredibly well designed, which now has Naruto in the same step where Goku was, battling a villain that he ultimately loses against. After losing this fight, it allows his son, Kawaki, to step in with only 5 minutes on Ishiki's clock and take control and run the gauntlet of this character. And trust me, it's awesome. Now, it would be one thing just to have that, but now we've nerfed Sasuke on top of it, removing his Rinnegan and having Boruto act as an antagonistic force and allowing him to move the plot forward, unlike Gohan, who really just stagnates it until Goku steps in. Now we have Boruto acting and effectively nerfing the two characters who were acting as free win buttons until this entire point, which then allows Boruto to sit at the core before the best scene in Boruto, Naruto and Kurama's final conversation, until be seen. I understand Two Blue Vortex isn't over, and obviously this could change a lot of the argument that I'm making right now. But this scene's awesome, and it serves as a way to nerf the main character so that he's not just a free win button moving forward, which then moves into Boruto, breaking off the hand of Ishiki and acting as the main catalyst for what occurs. While that happens, we're then introduced to the Code Assault arc, which many consider the peak of Part 1, which I don't personally agree with, but this sets up while Kawaki and Boruto have to face off against Code and Ada, and allows the revenge of Code to set up for the next and probably most important arc of all of Boruto, the Omnipotence arc, which now has everyone thinking that Boruto killed Naruto and Kawaki acting as the primary antagonist. We could get into super detailed aspects, but that's not the main thing. This series then does something unheard of in a franchise for quite a while, and I'm not saying that a franchise has never done this, but Naruto certainly hadn't been Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. Now, on top of this, Boruto is now the only character on the name. It's not Naruto Boruto The Next Generation, it's Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, which he acts at the core and center of. On top of that, Kawaki and Boruto are at the core of everything that is occurring right now in the manga. And again, I'm not going to get into super deep spoilers, but I'm going to give you guys a warning now, because Boruto and Kawaki are getting set up for their final conversation, which has been spent and influenced since the start of this series. And it's awesome to see how they're going to bring it up and, well, build it out. Then we're introduced to Himawari having Kurama, which allows him to still be in the fray without Naruto being the free win button he was, lets Himawari become relevant to the fights and combat, and on top of everything else puts the characters that the series has built up at the center. I'm just saying, while I love the Cell games and I think it's an incredible individual arc, it doesn't do the same thing that 2 Blue Vortex has done or the Kawaki arc accomplished. But feel free to disagree and let me know what you think.